Hey yo, what is up? Not even 2 days after the end of the assembly shop event with the Kampfpanzer prototype, Wargaming is now leaking a new tank that is going to be an addition either to the next assembly shop event or a Clan Wars reward tank, or some kind of tier 10 reward, because that is the only kind of scenario where this tank will be released, which is the Object 452K, another tier 10 Russian heavy tank. If you take a look at the lines, if you take a look at the silhouette of this tank, looks pretty sexy, looks pretty cool, a lot of angles everywhere. There is a hidden secret on this tank, which I will reveal in a bit. But first, let's take a look at the lines of this tank. Looks pretty sexy, it looks pretty modern looking. There's a lot of angles. The turret is really sloped. The front of the tank, even though it has a very high lower plate, it looks like it has some kind of V-hull, V-shaped hull. A lot of angles everywhere. It gives the impression that this tank will bounce a lot of shells from a lot of angles. Now, of course, this tank reminds us a lot of the last heavy assembly shop Soviet heavy tank, which was the Object 780, and it was a pretty good tank, very high mobility. For a Russian heavy tank, it was 45 kilometers an hour going forward with very high power to weight ratio 17.47. It had 530 alpha and 1.82 aim time with 13.71 reload time. Pretty interesting tank. A lot of people liked it. Nobody actually really hated this tank because this tank is pretty good and pretty well balanced. But back to the latest one from Wargaming. This one is the polar opposite of the Object 780. The 452K, 2300 hit points, 750 horsepower on a 55-ton platform. This has a much lower power to weight ratio, 13.6 power to weight ratio, as well as slower top speed, only 35 kilometers an hour going forward. Rotation speed, or the hull rotation speed, of 30 degrees per second. This is going to be very different from the 780. It is going to be much slower, but you do have a 560 alpha gun, 30 more hit points than the 780. However, it's going to reload 2 seconds, 3 seconds slower than the Object 780. This has a 15-second reload time. 15-second reload time, you probably get it down to about 13 seconds, 12 and a half. The dispersion 0.40, and the aim time as well, pretty slow, 2.5 seconds aim time versus 1.82 seconds on the Object 780. The penetration as well, 260 penetration and 320 on the premium shells, versus the Object 780, which was 267 penetration on the AP shells and 311 on the premium APCR shells. So you got better penetration on the premium heat shells on the Object 452K, which it's going to be better overall because you're going to make use of that 560 alpha. Also, because of that slower reload time, you want to make every shell count, every shot count. So that is going to be the the bonus on the Object 452K. However, it is a pretty slow tank, less mobility than the Object 780, so that we will see what's going to happen when we actually get to play it. But the most interesting part about the Object 452k is actually what you would not expect out of a heavy tank. It is the camo value. Now the camo value of this tank is slated to be 17.94 or something like that stock, which means you will round it up to about 18% camo rating. We are talking about possibly improving the camo rating up to about 36 to 40% camo rating on a heavy tank. This is unprecedented and unheard of. I don't know if they have made a mistake about publishing the camo rating of this tank, but as of right now, it is 18% camo rating, which means you're going to get a minimum 36% camo rating with all the crew skills. Probably if you have vents and food, probably 38-40% camo rating on a heavy tank. Now this is very interesting because you're gonna play this tank very differently from your other heavy tanks. You're not going to be out in the front trying to be aggressive and use your armor, but instead you're gonna hang out with the medium tanks at the back using camo, using bushes to try to advance the objective. So 18% camo rating is what makes this a bit scratching your head. What is going to happen with this tank? How are you going to play this tank? With this kind of accuracy, 0.40, you're not going to be able to hit anything, from 200, 300 meters away. So 0.40 accuracy is pretty bad if you're going to have to use your camo rating to snipe from a distance. So I don't know how this tank is going to play, but it is going to make it very interesting on how this tank is going to fit in the gameplay, because are you going to use your camo? Are you going to use your armor? This tank doesn't look like it's got a lot of armor, only 120 millimeters hull armor, 120 millimeters turret armor. Even though there's a lot of sloping, it's still not a lot of armor for heavy tier 10 possibly assault or breakthrough tank, because it is a heavy tank, right? But the silhouette maybe gives us the impression that this could be a smaller tank. It could be a low profile tank. That is why you have that 18% camo rating. We don't know yet. We will find out in the near future. What are your thoughts? Let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.